No meetings in May, right?
What's that?
No meetings in May, right?
Get in?
Okay, I have 9 o'clock, so we will go ahead and call the meeting to order.
We'll be okay.
This morning, we are going to do roll call the old-fashioned way instead of on our tablets. So we'll go through roll. Supervisor McCormick,
Present.
Supervisor Piaski, Supervisor Peterson,
Here.
Supervisor Gray,
Here.
Supervisor Johnson,
Here.
Supervisor Jarvis,
Here.
Supervisor Bosshard,
Here.
Supervisor King,
Here.
Supervisor Wadel,
Here.
Supervisor Urban,
Here.
Supervisor Kirschner.
Here.
All right, all are present. Okay, and our next order of business is we will have the oath of office administered by Circuit Court Judge Guy Dutcher.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Judge.
If you could all please stand. And repeat after me, raising your right hand. I state your name. Having been elected
Having been elected
to the office of
to the office of
County Board Supervisor
County Board Supervisor
for District,
for District 9,
swore or affirm
or
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and will faithfully and impartially
and will faithfully and impartially
discharge the duties of said office
discharge the duties of said office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Thank you all. Please be seated. I want to, first of all, thank all of you for your service to our county and to charge all of you to keep steadfast in mind how critical our county and its interests are at this point in our time and in our history. We are at a crossroads as we move forward. And I'm grateful personally and professionally for all of you and your service. And I look very forward to working with you as we look ahead. I think the intent here is that I'm going to come around and sign each of your oaths. Is that right, Madam Clerk?
Yeah, so on the right side of your folder, there is a oath of office form. If you would please sign that and pass it down, we would get that to the judge to sign.
There you are. Thank you.
Just give me a chance here.
Here are the rest of them.
It's in the right place. Oh, Lord.
I'll present your title next time.
This is kind of like that moment of silence before the meeting. Come on, right?
We've got them all. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay, so next we will stand for silent prayer and pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so next we are going to elect your county board chair. In your packet or in your folder, there is a packet with a green sheet on it that is going to be used for nominations. So if you'll take out the top sheet, the top white sheet, it has a blue line across the top for chair. You are going to put an X next to whomever you would like to nominate as your county board chair. You can nominate as many supervisors as you like, and you would need to put your initials in the column for initials. After you complete that, you can pass it down this way, and then we'll see who our nominations are for county board chair.
Yeah. So it doesn't.
Thank you. Just passing these down.
Just one, John.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I saw you that meeting and my judge, and we were like, I'm sure that she won't.
Yeah.
Okay. She was like, and like, I didn't talk to the right people, but I was like, she.
Take
He did,
care.
he did.
Taking two votes
Yeah,
right away.
and
huh?
health educator. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
completely lose it.
Yeah. Not yet.
Just a little bit.
All right, Barry, I'm gonna need my computer.
You said here, so you get to be first.
Let's see. Got my nomination sheet here. And so nominations for chair, we have John Jarvis. We have a nomination for Jesse Urban. One for Bart Peterson. David Bosshard. Mark Piaski. And that is all of our nominations. So we have nominations for Supervisor Piaski, Supervisor Peterson, Supervisor Jarvis, Supervisor Bosshard, and Supervisor Urban for County Board Chair. So for those that are nominated, would anybody like to add a few words as to why you may or may not like to be County Board Chair? We will start up with the front with Supervisor Piaski.
I'm not really interested in the chair position.
I also would withdraw my nomination.
You'd like to withdraw? Supervisor Piaski, are you withdrawing?
Yes.
Supervisor Jarvis.
I would accept the nomination. I've very much enjoyed serving as the chair, and I would truly like to continue on in that capacity.
Supervisor Bosshard.
I would withdraw my name.
And Supervisor.
I'd withdraw my name as well.
Okay, so we have one nomination for chair, Supervisor John Jarvis. We can proceed to vote with your blue ballots, or we could look for a motion to cast a unanimous ballot.
I will make the motion to cast a unanimous ballot for John Jarvis.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Waddle, second by King to cast a unanimous ballot for Jarvis as chair. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so John Jarvis will be seated as our county board chair.
My spot back.
P-O-R-M-I-C-K.
Do you have the new people set up, Megan? In his first initial last name? Yeah. Can you just verify? Let's just get logged in here. Well, once again, thank you for your support. It is truly an honor to serve as your chair. I'm looking forward to the next couple of years. So with that, we'll move on with our agenda. I look for a motion to approve the agenda.
So move.
Moved by Urban. Is there a second?
Second?
Second by Bossard. Is there any question? Okay. If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, and you've all got, have the minutes from March 19th, 2024 monthly meeting. I would look for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Okay, motion by Waddle, second by Peterson. Is there any comments? Okay, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, very good. Thank you. And with that, then we have 3 public comments. Or 2, I guess there's 2 public comments. So Mike Kelly. Mike, you have 3 minutes. Okay, very good.
First, I'd like to congratulate all of you. I'd like to touch on the highway department issue. Contacted 18 townships and 4 of the 6 villages in Sheriff County. All 18 townships, the town chairman, and 4 of the village presidents. I asked them 2 questions. First was if they thought Brian Frymark and his doing a good job of getting right information to their township villages running. They all answered yes, and they were very satisfied with it. Next question was if they're satisfied with the work the highway department has done for them. Again, all answered. Commissioner and the superintendent have a lot of responsibilities. One of which is enforcing the rules put in place by the state of Wisconsin and owning to help keep our roadways safe. I can tell you from personal experience, at the end of the day, when someone gets caught breaking a rule, it might be a knee-jerk reaction to one of them. Maybe they don't think they should have to be held accountable for that. Maybe they think they're above the law. Well, we all know. everyone can accept this, maybe they can realize that perhaps they are more the problem than the highway department. Things in the bullying and stuff. In closing, facts show that the highway department staff that's doing the job for Sheriff County is to work with the townships and villages, maintained and safe. Thank you for your time, and good luck for all of you in your.
Thank you. The next public comment is from James Morgan. Morning.
James Morgan, retired military. Vice. Also chairman of the town of Oasis. Let me be here today is to thank Brian Freemark, George Nye, for the outstanding service they have given my township. County disagrees with that assumption. Two unique individuals. Brian is a government entrepreneur. He lives. So he brings extra monetary sources into the county that on equipment otherwise. George is supervisor. He's not afraid to lend a hand on any piece of what the county has and make sure that it's up to their efficiency. Hope that address it. Support these two fine public services. Great day. I'd also like to thank Kaiser Urban for his help when the county gave us back parts of Lake Huron. Thank you. And Megan. Function, helpful and training.
Thank you. Very good. Okay, with that, then we'll move on with the organization of the county board and election of committees. So next we'll move into vice chair, and I believe it's probably the similar kind of circumstance. Take your green sheet out, and if you want to nominate somebody, check by that person and initial, and then get it in my get. Two.
Okay, so we have nominations for Supervisor Kirschner, Supervisor Urban, Supervisor Peterson, Supervisor Piaski, Supervisor Bosshard, Okay, So nominations for first vice chair, we have Supervisor Piaski, Peterson, Bosshard, Urban, and Kirschner. So
Yeah, go ahead. If Supervisor Piaski, would you like to say a few words?
Well, I would like to be on the executive. I don't necessarily matter if it's vice chair or second vice chair, but I would like to be on that committee. I've been on the county board. This is my 4th term starting, and I feel I have a lot to offer, and I'm available to come to the meetings, unlike some of the former members. And I've been employee of the county for 37 years, so I kind of know what's going on here before I retired. And so whether it be the vice chair or second vice chair would be fine with me.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Peterson.
Yes, before I became county supervisor, I worked for 40 years at a very large company. Most of that time I spent in middle management there. So I do believe that I can bring some of the management skills that I have learned and gotten over the years at that company to the county board. So I enjoy working with everybody here at the county. I enjoy working with everybody on the board. And certainly would like to fulfill some more of those management commitments to that position.
Thank you. Supervisor Bossard.
Yes, I would also like to be part of the executive committee. I believe, like has been mentioned, that I believe that we need to have somebody who can be present at the meetings, that can be engaged with not just dealing with the general public, but also the employees of this county, to represent them well through the executive committee. I think we have a huge decision moving forward as we look to a new administrator. And I would like to work to have more involvement from the entire board. And I think that starts with exec, to have the board more involved in the decision of their one employee, our county administrator.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Urban.
Yeah, I'd like to withdraw my name.
Okay. And Supervisor Kirschner.
Been vice chair for a number of years. Enjoyed doing it. I haven't missed too many meetings. I think I missed one in over 10 years. Was town chairman for 42 years in our township. I think I really kind of know what's going on and want to work with the, mentioned that when other times that want to work with our employees, just like to make things better around here. Basically, that's about.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, so then go ahead with your green slips there. Go ahead and mark your ballot and we'll pass it down. You go, Megan.
Let it go this time. I didn't see him.
Mark Lasky. 2 for Dave Bossart. Art Peterson. And 5 for Mark Kirschner.
So, okay. All right, very good. Congratulations, Supervisor Kirschner. You'll be our first vice.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, and then we'll move into our second vice chair, and that's the gray sheets. Go ahead and mark your nomination and send it down.
Yeah.
Maybe I can-
Mark Piaski, Mark Peterson, Sir,
Is it? Yes. Okay, very good. Okay, so we'll start again with Mark Piaski. If you'd like to say some words.
Just expand on what I said before. I mean, I feel I have the ability to do it, and I would be very interested in continuing with make sure building projects are finished properly and that hiring administrator situation, I think that needs to be more board involvement with that. And hopefully with the executive, we could get the whole board involved in that decision, but that's all, yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, Supervisor Peterson.
Yeah, just to add to that, as everybody else has said on the board on the nominations, is working with the new administrator, and working also with you and Mr. Kirschner on the executive committee to try to move this county board forward.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Bossard.
Yeah, nothing to add. Thank you.
Thank you. And Supervisor Waddle.
I just would be interested in it. I think very challenging position, and I'd like to give it a shot.
Okay, very good. Did we get slips for this?
sorry, do you
That's
have
okay.
an extra slip? One of
Well,
you?
I gave it to Jay.
Thanks. Sorry, I gave it to somebody.
Okay,
else.
that's fine. As long as I didn't vote on it. Like they had. Got it.
Oh,
Okay, it was the one, I didn't realize it was on the back there.
I can count it twice, it's written. on
Yeah.
both sides.
We just, we like to conserve paper here. We don't want to waste paper. so.
One for Supervisor Piaski. 5 for Supervisor Basser. 5 for Supervisor Peterson.
Okay, so we have a tie. So we'll vote again. Is that the procedure?
That's your, how do you want to do it?
Yeah, let's take the top two and we'll vote again. Thank you. Okay, so just so you're not confused, we're going to vote for either Supervisor Peterson or Supervisor Bossard. Okay. Okay, that's fine. Just with this part of it, not the rest of the voting or showing.
We'll just go to his
Okay,
presentation.
that sounds good. Yep, sounds good.
It is 5 for Supervisor Bossert and 6 for Supervisor Peterson.
Okay,
close
very
race.
close vote. So congratulations, Supervisor Peterson, or Peterson for that. You'll be our second vice. All right, at this time, we're going to actually skip ahead because we do have a speaker who we asked to be here at 9:30. So we're going to let him go ahead and give his presentation, and that's the hiring software presentation, predictive index software, and it's with Mr. Lee Bushmaker. So.
Yes, so at the last county board meeting, Supervisor King had talked about whether or not we to hire a consultant or a headhunter or some type of firm to help us with for the county administrator, and Supervisor Urban recommended that we contact Mr. Bushmaker, who has a predictive index software, and some of us have seen his presentation on YouTube, and so he is here today to give you an update about what he can possibly bring to this, so that you have some more information.
Welcome.
Water here, so try to keep it. The software is psychology. Okay. Is this better?
Yes.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Yeah. Right. But at the company I work for, we realize that a company or an organization cannot rise above its people. It's the people that drive the success or failure of any organization. So, but before I get into the software, I want to go over a little bit of my background because the software is only as good as the training that goes along with it, as well as who the county would be working with. And that would be mainly myself. And I work with a group out of Fargo, North Dakota. They're called Compass Leadership Advisors. And this group, Compass Leadership, came into the company that I work for, which is called MacArthur Company. It's out of St. Paul, Minnesota. And the company I work for, I've been there for about 18 years. I grew up in Wisconsin Rapids, and how I got here today is Jess Urban is a close friend of mine, and so over the years we talk about challenges and running organizations and businesses and hiring and how people can do that better. So let me go into my background a little bit. So like I said, I grew up in Rapids. I went to school in Whitewater, and I got a degree in accounting and business administration. And from there, I
worked at the Menards corporate headquarters for about a year, but then from there I traveled into the Twin Cities, and that's where I've been at MacArthur Company. We're a building materials distribution company with around 1,400 employees across the entire U.S. The company is entirely employee owned. So my job there is the plan administrator for the company's stock plan. And I basically communicate to the employees how they can drive the value of our stock and make sure that they know that they're appreciated and valued. And that's what this software can help county managers do for their teams. It helps to get to know a person in a way that that person appreciates. It figures out what drives people, and it focuses on what they're interested in doing. And what we did at MacArthur is we tried to align a person's interest with the job and what that job is calling for. So our sales folks, those are going to be more extroverted people that like a lot of variety during the day. New challenges, are okay with risk, are okay with getting told no, and they can just then pursue another pathway to see if they can get to a yes for that customer. On the operations side of our business, those folks are going to be extremely detail oriented and maybe more introverted, more reserved, but they make our warehouses and our operations hum along. And what the predictive index software can do is in 4 minutes, a person takes a survey, answers 2 questions, mainly, how do you see yourself at work? And then how do you think other people expect you to be at work? And they take those 2 things and it kicks out a summary of a person's, what I call a work interest summary. And what we can do with the software is the county, I'm sure, has high performers in various job categories. We can find out what drives that person in a way that a person outside applying for a job can then take this survey, and then we can see if their interests align with what that job is calling for. So you can kind of mimic or clone the high performers. And what we saw at MacArthur is that people generally, if we put the wrong person in the wrong spot, it costs our company about 1.5 times that person's annual salary. So it's quite expensive, as everybody knows, to put the wrong person in the wrong spot, but then that also doesn't account for the stress involved in making in that wrong decision. So predictive index, it's a simple survey that you send out, and it was created in 1955. The science stems from an Air Force lieutenant named Arthur Daniels, and he flew bomber missions over Germany during World War II. And his flight crew flew over Berlin and dropping bombs on that city to get rid of the Nazis. And he never got shot down. And then when he came back, Harvard University asked him what the heck he did. How did he do that? And that survey, the predictive index survey that we use today, is the same survey that Arthur Daniels was using in World War II. And what he did was he tried to align, like as I mentioned before, that person's interest with the job on the flight crew. So your pilot is going to be a hyper-focused, detail-oriented person, very calm under pressure, but the leader of the crew. And then you're going to have, in the World War II, I'm sure you've seen the planes where you got like the tail gunner. That's going to be more of a person who's okay with risk, kind of a more of a what you'd call a maverick type of person. And the bombardier is going to be a hyper accurate person, calm, focused on the target, not distracted, probably a very, very introverted person. And mainly what the Air Force lieutenant did was put the right people in the right spot and then they went and completed a mission. And that's what Predictive Index does. It helps you improve your first time go rate of putting the right person in the right spot. And what's beautiful about the software is what we ask people is you have an applicant, let's say applying for a job. They take this 4-minute survey and you ask them, hey, did that roughly describe you? And we get all sorts of reactions, but a lot of them get emotional in a very positive way because it's a real blessing to be able to put down on a sheet of paper what you like to do and what motivates you. So this acts as kind of a resume writer. And the applicant, they'll say, yes, that describes me. And then they'll say, do you have a job for a person like this? And that's where the county will be able to say, we have a job for a person exactly like this. And it shows you who you're going to be working with 3 months from now. People during an interview, it's so hard to, everybody knows this. It's so hard to get to know a person in 40 minutes. And that person could be nervous trying to explain what kind of value they're going to bring. And this cuts a lot of that away. It gives the manager a beautiful system for making a better, more informed decision. And on top of that too, it'll help you motivate your current teams. It shows you how to show appreciation to people on your team. A more extroverted person will appreciate getting a high five in front of their peers in the group, maybe being mentioned in the newsletter. A more introverted person will still want that appreciation and value from their manager, but it'll mean a lot more in a private conversation, you know, on a Friday, stopping by that person's desk saying, hey, John or Susie, we're lucky to have you. You did outstanding this week. That'll put wind in their sails. But if you have more of an introverted, introspective person and you bring them up on a stage or, you know, put them in a situation like this, it's quite a, you know, it's more out of their element as opposed to an extroverted person. So you're able to put the right person in the right spot. And then as a manager, it'll show you, it'll give you a list of 12 things that you could offer this person as far as challenges or opportunities. Let's say projects around the county that need to get done that call for a certain skill set. You'll be able to identify the people that will be jumping at that. And if they're interested in it, they'll do a better job. Quality will be better. Their coworkers will feel it. The management will feel it. The county citizens will feel it. It's psychology applied to hiring. And the software is extremely easy to use. If you can use a computer, you can use a software. And if a person has high school education, they can complete the survey because it deals with clicking on words that appeal to them. So they have to have a decent vocabulary, but high school education gets you there. And then from there, it's a very active software. It's used continually throughout the process of the year because the hiring is just the first part. Implementing the software is extremely easy. You're pretty much immediately able to use it and put it to productive work. What I would help the county do is map out what Predictive Index calls job targets. What type of person are you looking for in various roles? We map out kind of their constellation pattern of interests. The folks apply and we see how they align or misalign. And then Predictive Index kicks out a list of EEOC compliant interview questions. So this system also puts the county in a really good position of, you know, if the Department of Labor shows up and asks, how are you hiring? How are you making your decisions? This system will protect the county from any type of lawsuit that says that it unifies the county's hiring practices, which also helps the manager as far as what questions can I ask. But Predictive Index will also show you what questions you should ask this individual based on the job that you have available and the individual sitting across the table. So very productive questions that align with all the HR legalities of today. So, you know, I had a presentation, but I just wanted to keep it more simple as an introduction. And I want to leave time for questions too, because that's the real value is, you know, problems that I could help the county solve, and learning where you have problems in the hiring and in the HR realm. That will be the most productive part. I can go over the costs as well, because I know that that's extremely vital as far as the budgeting. The cost to implement, train, and use the software, the annual cost would be $19,000 a year for the software. There would basically be 3 invoices. So Predictive Index, they're a company. They bought this system that Harvard systematized 1955. And now when it lays on top of the internet and cell phones, they used to do these things like number 2 pencil style, filling out these questionnaires. But with the technology of today, it's hyper fast. So people are able to just take it through a link. So that's the Predictive Index software cost. And that $19,000 is based on the size of the county. Basically the head count, the employees is how Predictive Index does their pricing. On top of that, there would be a half-day training focused purely on the Predictive Index science, and that would be for up to 20 people. It's best done virtually, where everybody's looking at their screen, going through the slides. The odd thing about, you know, what's happened over the last couple of years is the, you know, Zoom and Teams. It's allowed people to be more remote and effective with the training. So it would be a very kind of a soft touch half-day training to get the managers up to speed, where they could learn to speak about what Predictive Index is and how to use it. The last invoice would be a cost of $6,000, and that would be over the next 3 to 5 months. It'd be myself working with the managers, solidifying the training, implementing everything into the HR systems. The applicant tracking system is the best place to start. Working with whoever handles the recruiting for the county. People get the most value out of Predictive Index in the hiring. So what it would be is somebody applies for a county job. We look at the resume. If it looks promising, give them a call, talk to the person briefly for about 10 minutes. And if that goes okay, send them the Predictive Index and then schedule a face-to-face interview. And the first question I always recommend asking is, do you think that this summary of your preferred work style roughly describes you? And from there, the applicant will just start talking, and they'll be, it's a very welcoming survey because it's accurate, it's cost efficient, and it's non-judgmental. It basically identifies a person's superpowers. And a really fun thing to do is, after a person takes it, is show your survey to your spouse, because it's, what do you like to work with? And it leads to a very interesting conversation, because your spouse definitely knows what you're like to work with, you know, and what interests you and what doesn't interest you. Shows your blind spots, but it also shows your strengths. The other amazing thing that we've learned to do at MacArthur, we brought Predictive Index. We started vetting it in 2020, had it fully implemented in 2022. And we use it to write our job descriptions. So you can think of it as like a fishing lure, where you map out your ideal for whatever position you would like. We use that information to then put those interests and those keywords into the job posting online. So you cast out this fishing lure into places like Indeed or ZipRecruiter online where everybody's hunting for jobs. And you'll find that the applicants that apply for your posting with this information in there, they jump at the opportunity. And you can ask them, hey, did that job description really jump out to you? Because it seems like your predictive index profile really aligns with it. And you'll find applicants saying like this, this is my dream job. Of all the jobs I applied for, this description most aligned with what I would like to do for a career. So once again, it allows you to get a better quality candidate. You know more about the candidate quickly in a way that the candidate appreciates. And then you also have something that can help you manage and put wind in that candidate's sails going forward. And so with that, I would like to take some questions. But in closing though, too, I see it as a huge opportunity for the county. And I think I see it as also such a privilege and an honor to be here as far as implementing this system into private companies is one thing, but what the county does and whatever technology, is coming for us in the future, people still have to live somewhere. They have to be supported. The roads have to be taken care of, schools. It's what you guys do won't change. As technology changes, people are still going to be here and serving the citizens of Waushara County in the best way possible, filling your open job slots with the best people possible, saving yourselves stress and worry when you put the wrong person in the wrong spot. The financial cost of the county is just one thing. But the stress it puts on the management and the citizens is also another real cost too. It's hard to put a dollar value on. So with that, I really appreciate your time and your consideration, and it'd be an honor to work with you. And the system's already established and proven, and you would see the benefits immediately. So with that,
Okay.
I really thank you. And any questions?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Bushmaker. One question I have is just a clarification. So you said, because we are budget driven, as we have to hear costs. The 19,000 is a subscription kind of price. That's a yearly fee, and then 6,000 that's over for the first initial year. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
there'd be the three pieces, the three costs. The 19,000 would be the annual software subscription, and that would be the ongoing cost for the software.
Okay.
The $5,400 cost, predictive index requires a basic training.
Okay.
Basically bringing, it's less technical, but allowing the managers to understand the process. And then the $6,000 charge would be implementation and integration.
Okay.
Until everything is humming along perfect. And it'd be my goal to have you independent and up and running on your own as soon as possible in a very comfortable way. And then ongoing maintenance as needed. As long as that software subscription is in place, the county and I would be working together for whatever is needed.
All right. Well, good. Thank you for your presentations. Anybody else have any questions? Yes.
I have a question. Who develops the job description to help you go find the correct candidate?
Yep, that would be me. Yeah,
Okay.
we've mapped several of them. A very interesting thing is that at MacArthur, so general size. So MacArthur sells about $2 billion worth of building materials, and our top three financial professionals. So my boss is the CFO. Then we have our corporate controller, and then we have a lumber division. We sell 2x4s and utility poles and such. All three of them have the same predictive index profile, and they're in the top handful of performers in the Twin Cities. So we have accounting and finance. Like you would have a rock star. You could see their pattern. It doesn't measure a person's character, you know? So you have to figure out if they're an honest, hardworking person. But as far as if they're going to be interested in the job and do well at it, it'll show you that. I was shocked by that. It also identified our top salespeople. It basically, it's colorblind and gender blind too. So of those accounting folks, it's men and women alike. They just have the same profile or interest. On the sales side of things, it basically told us this person will be selling the most insulation for you. And then a woman down in Florida named Courtney, the predictive index said she will sell the most lumber. And we basically said, yes, we know. They've been setting records for decades, top of their class. So it was really cool to see how it affirmed our top performers. And then we can use those top performers to map out our job target. And I would set that up in predictive index. And it's based on, you know, I'd be working with the county managers as far as what type of person are you looking for in this position? And then we calibrate the predictive index. It basically works on charts where people fall as far as would they like to take the lead of the team or would they rather be collaborative? Are they extroverted or are they more reserved? Do they get energy by talking to people or do they get energy by that long ride home alone, clearing their thoughts? Do they like steady? I want a predictable environment. Or do they want variety, a little bit of chaos? Are they hyper precise? All the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. Or are they more flexible, looking for solutions? It takes those parameters and then we gauge where those are on the charts, and then it kicks out a 2-page summary of what describes this person. We take that summary, put it into the job description, and once again, we post that, and you'll find that people, when they apply, they really want that job because it's describing them as a person, as opposed to, you know, you'll be moving materials around and such. It's more of a, you know, you'll be trained in a very technical way, and you'll be able to expand your knowledge, and it's very. It describes what people are interested in doing for work. And it's all mapped out. And then with the applicant tracking system, what a manager will see is they'll get the resume, maybe the job application, and then the predictive index summary. And that summary drives the interview guide that predictive index creates. And then also kicks out a list of 12 work-related things that this person would love to do for the county. So that manager knows, you know, the red meat that person will be really interested in doing, like what's going to give them energy. So as a manager, what we do is it kicks out those 12 things. And when I sit with my boss, we'll work on the top 3. I'll circle the top 3 of the 12. Like, I would love to do these for the company. And then when he sees those opportunities, he can throw them my way. So he's happy, I'm happy, and people feel heard and appreciated. It's like the manager is taking the time to get to know the employee in a way that the employee appreciates. And it's extremely valuable. So it'll improve retention in that way.
Good. Supervisor Peterson, you have
Just a quick question. How many organizations do you support?
So right now, the MacArthur, I'm the plan administrator for the predictive index. Grace Management was an assisted living company, and they had about 3,000 employees in the Twin Cities. They used it for 2 years. They didn't implement it at the recruiting level of things, so they're no longer using predictive index. But on an ongoing basis, it's mainly MacArthur. you know, my full-time day job is accounting and finance and administering the stock plan. And in doing that and implementing this in over the last several years, I fell in love with it. I always thought psychology was interesting, but then applying it to business, it's just, it has my interest. So mainly Waushara would be my main priority. And I hope to someday, if I can build up enough clients, be able to get out of the accounting and finance realm of things and working more directly with people and hiring. So out of my wheelhouse generally, but in my background, I was the accounting manager for MacArthur before I drifted into purely managing the stock plan. But I have about 4 years of experience on implementation and training.
Okay, good, thank you.
Good.
Yep.
Ms. McCormick.
I apologize if you went over this and I may have missed it, but that $19,000 annual charge, is that something the county would be locked into from year to year, or is there the potential for that to increase?
I guess with costs of things, there's always the potential to increase. But it's based on the county employee size. So if the county expands the headcount, basically once a year, you would, I would ask how many employees you have, full-time and part-time. And then the predictive index company sends over the software costs based on that headcount. They usually go in groups of 100. So it goes from like, 200 to 300, 300 to 400. We usually count part-time employees as kind of half. So that's where I'd ask for the Waushara head count, full-time employees, and then part-time.
Okay, very good. And if the board would allow, our IT director would like to ask you a question as well.
So the software is completely web-based, correct? Or is there installation anywhere that happens, or?
No, it's completely web-based.
So where is the data stored? Like, where does it live as far as, like, where's the databases live?
Yeah.
What's the background?
Yeah. So the predictive index, I'm not sure where they store, like where their like server facilities are and such, but so it's a cloud-based software, and it's basically stored completely. Well, each organization has it, but I'm not sure if I'm understanding the.
Is it like US based, or is it
Yes.
overseas based, or
Yep.
where does that cloud live? Like the back end of it?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I could ask where they have their back end support, but it is a US based company. And they bought the rights to the predictive index software. It's probably about 10 years ago, maybe even longer. But I can get more technical as far as where the actual data is being stored. But
Yeah, it's just good information from best practice, like local government and government in general. We try to make sure the data that we're using and whatever stays in the United States, and it's easy for that not to happen. So
yeah,
it's just a curiosity.
Yeah, I'm sure that's with every year with the moving of the data storage. Yeah, but we could get into exact details of where everything is stored and the potential risks too.
Yeah, risk is huge, especially for government. That's a big deal.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions? Yes, Mr. Piaski.
How is this going to help us with like departments like the sheriff's department where they can't even get applicants for the jail or the sheriff's department or the highway? How is this going to help us with that?
Well, it could better describe the person that you're looking for. So it might be able to attract the right kind of person. As far as you're unable to get people to apply, is that yeah, it would create a more inviting invitation. That's for sure. And then when people do apply, you'd be able to vet them much better. Finding applicants, being able to market the job position. And I could work with that as far as the online marketing of where you go hunting for people. But the first thing of having a good, clean job description that's going to attract the right kind of person, I think that would be the first step. But yeah, I can tell you're not satisfied as far as finding recruits. How do we do that? You know, besides,
This isn't gonna help us with that.
oh, it'll help you find the right person. Yeah.
Yeah, but
but-
there's only so many people apply for these jobs. Everybody's got a shortage.
Yes.
So this isn't gonna help us spend $30,000 isn't gonna help us get more people in here.
I think the county has very desirable positions. Like, I think if you market them properly and paint a good picture for a job description and put the right person in the right spot. Yeah. How is the county currently looking for people?
Through our HR department.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
They advertise, I guess. I don't
Mhm.
know.
Yeah, and I can help with that as far as where we go hunting. Places like Indeed, ZipRecruiter are the key spots. But
But like our zoning has tried to hire people and they were getting applicants from all over the nation that probably were just doing it to apply for a job, not necessarily interested in our job. And
yeah, what we found is that in every 10 applicants, maybe 2 will be worth a phone call, and then maybe 1 will be worth interviewing. The job market, it was extremely tight a couple of years ago. It seemed like everybody was, you know, during the COVID, it was very tough keeping and retaining people as well as getting people to apply. But I think if you present yourself in a good way and put yourself out into the pools where people are hunting for jobs, you know, and I could help with that as far as the marketing of it. But if you make it appealing and you put yourself in front of people, job fairs are also outstanding. You know, you go to places and they could take this predictive index and you'd be able to call the people direct face to face, especially with like a county situation. It might be better to do more face to face events, but then you'd be able to vet people better. I just know that hiring the wrong person is extremely unproductive, and that's the main course here, as well as retaining people. If you can treat people better in a way that they appreciate, they're going to stay longer and the turnover will increase. What we had at MacArthur was that of the 1,400 people, 300 were retiring in the next 3 to 5 years, with the baby boomers retiring. And so we had to fill those slots, a lot of them, quickly without making a lot of mistakes. But we've had the same struggles too on trying to get people to apply. And then also people that were applying had no business applying. It's a weird market out there right now for jobs. But I've always seen places like the county as an extremely desirable place to work.
Okay, thank you. We have just one very quick follow-up question, then we have to move on with our agenda.
Yes,
So
of course.
thank you.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Does the software have application tracking built in, or is that separate? Or like as far as posting job descriptions or whatever, that goes to you? Did they apply through you too, or do we have different application software that we put in with that, or how does that work?
Yeah, so typically, like how we have it set up is we have an applicant tracking system attached to our payroll system. So we use predictive index to create the job description, and then that applicant tracking system posts the job online to places like Indeed and ZipRecruiter. And when those applicants filter into the applicant tracking system, we figure out who we want to send the predictive index survey to. One error that we made is that we were hitting everyone that applied with the predictive index survey, and that overwhelms the system because there's somebody taking that predictive index profile and attaching it to the applicant's application. And as Mark has mentioned, most folks aren't going to be worth even talking to because they're not a good fit at all. So a predictive index, it's basically a scientific tool that you can use to analyze a person's interests, and it amplifies the applicant tracking system at the county. a lot of the work that I would be doing would be in that applicant tracking system and creating a workflow from creating a job description to posting the job to filtering the applicants and then even to the hiring and onboarding process. So it's a peripheral piece that attaches to the applicant. And that speaks to your point too of the data security. You want the applicant tracking housed within the county. This is a tool that helps the managers make decisions better. It attaches more information to each application.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you very much for your presentation. We'll be discussing this item later in our agenda. So, all right, very good. Thank you very much. All right, with that, we're going to move on with our organization of the County Board and election of committees. We'll go on to the election of committees. The first one is the Public Works Board, and that's the pink sheet. Now, Megan, you want us to just nominate one, is that correct? And then we'll vote for 4.
Nominate as many as you would like.
Okay, all right. And Public Works is Highway.
I don't have one of those pink sheets.
You have a second vice chair, so maybe you
Oh.
have the wrong one. Just cross it out and put.
Okay.
Okay, I have Dylan Gray, David Bossard, Mark Kirschner, Mark Yaski, John Jarvis, Pat King, Jay Johnson, Jesse Urban, Art Peterson, that's it.
Okay, very good. Now, keep in mind, we will be voting for 4, so we'll go around again. If you'd like to say some words, Mark?
I've been on the committee for 1 year or 1 term and as an alternate the prior term. And I've gone to a lot of training to understand the ins and outs of the highway. I went to some state trainings and stuff, and it's a completely different animal than the rest of the departments as far as how they operate by state statute, and really interested in continuing on in that capacity on the board.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Supervisor Peterson?
I would withdraw my nomination.
Okay. All right, and we have Supervisor Gray.
I'd be interested in the Public Works, working with Granite over the past year on the village board, working with a lot of the Public Works, seeing what they put into it. It's been very rewarding, so I would accept.
Okay, very good. Supervisor Johnson?
I'd like to withdraw.
Withdraw, all right. Very good. And myself, I would accept the nomination. It seems like if there's anything going on with the roads, one of the first calls comes to me anyway. And so, but I have gone to a lot of the meetings and I'm very interested in that board. So. Supervisor Bossard.
Yes, I would be interested in being on the board. I've attended a few meetings and enjoy working and being in the understanding a little bit more of what goes on with the highway department and all of our public works with the county.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor King.
I've been on Public Works for a couple times, I believe. I very much enjoy working there. I'm not afraid to tell Brian when I think he's wrong. And I think I'm an asset to the committee.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Urban.
Yeah, I know there's a couple openings in Public Works and have worked through the park change in town of Oasis and been involved with a couple of meetings, interested in it, would accept the nomination.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Kirschner.
After being on the town board for all the years and working with Brian and prior other superintendents of the highway, know quite a bit about the roads and taking care of them. Know a lot about equipment. So been on the highway committee for probably 8+ years.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, so just to recap, we have Supervisors Piaski, Gray, Jarvis, Bossard, King, Urban, and Kirschner who are interested. So from that list, if you would vote for 4 on the pink sheet and initial ballot.
We vote for, right?
Vote for 4, yep. Great.
Ray, Jarvis, Foster, Urban. Yasky, Jarvis, Kirschner. Yasky, Gray, Urban, Jarvis. Gray, Jarvis, Foster, Urban. Jarvis, Kirschner, King, Bossard. Kirschner, Piaski, Jarvis, Urban. Piaski, Kirschner, Jarvis, King. Urban, King, Gray, Kirschner. Kirschner, King, Jarvis, Piaski. Gray, Bossard, King, Kirschner. Piaski, Gray, Jarvis, Kirschner. And votes. Six votes. Piaski, Gray, and
Okay. So we could vote again for those 3. Is that to do 2 of the 3? Would that be correct?
We need to vote for 4.
4.
So right now we have John Jarvis and Mark Kirschner with the highest votes. The next highest vote getters are Piaski, Gray. So we need 2 more. So we would re-vote out of those 3.
2 of those 3. Okay, just for clarification, so we're voting for two of the three, either Supervisor Piaski, Supervisor Gray, or Supervisor King. So vote for two out of those three. I believe, Megan, there's an alternate name on this too. Okay, so, yeah. Right. Mhm.
Piaski and Gray. Piaski and King. Piaski and King. Gray and King. Piaski and King. Gray and King. Gray and Urban. Piaski and Gray. King and Piaski. Piaski and King. And Gray and King. I have 8 for King, 7 for Piaski.
Okay, very good. So then your board, your Public Works Board will be Jarvis, Kirschner, King, and Piaski. And then, like I said, I will be naming an alternate then on that as well. So. All right, the second one we will choose now is for the Land, Water, and Education Committee, and that's your yellow sheet. So go ahead and nominate, and that one again, nominate 4. You can nominate up to 4. So, thank you, Dylan. So nominate up to 4 and pass that in, please.
Is that nominate as many as you want?
As many as you want, or up to 4. I guess you can nominate as many as you want. Huh? Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Elected.
Yeah.
Right.
I just. That's all right. How many are we supposed to be?
You can nominate it.
Just takes longer, that's all.
Yep.
McCormick, Peterson, Gray, Urban. Cueto. Yasmin. Gossard. Jarvis. I have Waito already? Yeah, okay. Johnson. Hudson.
Okay, very good. So now, again, keep in mind, we're going to be voting for 4. And so if you'd like to make a comment, Ms. McCormick.
Yes, I accept the nomination first. prior to my current position, I actually worked at the health department as an environmental health specialist for about 5 years. I do hold an REHS RS credential, which is a registered environmental health specialist credential. That is a credential I have maintained after leaving the health department. So know a little bit about environmental health and would be happy to serve on this committee.
Okay, very good. Supervisor Piaski.
I've been on the committee for 3 terms. I'm currently the chairman of the committee. I am involved in several consortiums that the county is involved with. I would enjoy continuing on in that position.
Okay, very good. Supervisor Peterson.
I will withdraw my name.
Okay. All right, Supervisor Gray, I guess, can't speak, so Supervisor Johnson.
I'll withdraw as well.
Okay. All right, and I as well have been on that committee for several terms, and I think I can make an impact on it, so I would accept it if I was elected. Supervisor Bossard.
Very much falls within my area of interest and expertise. I would love to serve.
Okay. Supervisor Weidel.
I've been on the committee for a couple times now, and I really enjoy working with the land, water, and education heads, and attended conservation field days one year, and that's a very enlightening experience to see all the kids learning and all the teachers. They could spend 2-3 days there and they'd still soak it all up. So I enjoy being on that committee.
Okay, very good. Supervisor Urban.
I've enjoyed my time on land, water, and education. I think there's others in the pool here that are better suited. I'd like to withdraw my name.
Okay, very good. Okay, so am I correct? Then we have, I think, 5 names. Is it McCormick? Oh, go ahead. Okay, so we have actually 6. Okay, so of those 6, go ahead and vote on the yellow sheet for 4 and initial that. Okay. You go, Ruth.
And hold on.
Thank you.
McCormick, Jarvis, Sir, Weedle, Yasky, Jarvis, Foster, Weedle, McCormick, Foster, McCormick, Yasky, Weedle, Foster, McCormick, Yasky, Jarvis, Foster, Jarvis, Vassar, Weedle, McCormick, Jarvis, Weedle, Vassar, McCormick, Yasky, Vassar, Jarvis, McCormick, Weedle, Jarvis, Ray, McCormick, Yasky, Jarvis, Weedle. Yep. Okay. McCormick,
Okay, so that's the four then?
Jarvis, Foxhart, and Lee.
Okay, very good. All right, and then our last one that we vote on is the Planning and Zoning Committee, and that's the purple sheet, or is that purple or gray, whatever. So on that, again, there's, we're going to be voting for four, so go ahead and nominate an initial and send that down.
Yeah. Peterson, Bossart, King, Waddle, Urban. Bossart. McCormick. Ray. Piaski. Johnson. Jarvis.
That's everybody.
Congratulations.
I guess. Okay, well, we're going to be voting for four. So I guess we can just go down the list. So Ms. McCormick, would you like to?
I will make it a little bit easier on everybody and I will withdraw.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Piaski.
I will withdraw.
Mr. Peterson.
I did serve last 2 years on planning and zoning. 2 years ago, going into this, I didn't have a clue about planning and zoning. Todd has done a great job educating me on planning and zoning, and I would like to continue being on that board.
Okay, sounds good. Mr. Gray again cannot speak. Mr. Johnson.
Seeing that my wife works in zoning, I'm going to withdraw.
Okay. All right, thank you. And I as well, I'm going to withdraw. I've gone to the meetings and they're very interesting, but with time constraints, I'm going to just withdraw at this time. So, Mr. Bossard.
I've served for the last 2 years. I work well with all of the zoning staff. So I would very much enjoy working with them again on planning and zoning.
Okay. Mr. King.
I've been on planning and zoning a number of years. I very much enjoy it. It's very interesting. I work well with the staff also, of course. I very much like to serve again. It is very, very interesting.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Weedle.
Yes, I am currently the chairman of the zoning. I think I work well with the committee. We've never had any knockdown, draw out disagreements. Some of the people that come and see us, on the other hand, but it's interesting, it's challenging. Prior to being on the committee itself, I was a citizen representative for a couple of years. I enjoy it. I like to go out and see the people's projects that they're doing and helps the county along. So I'd appreciate your vote for being on that committee.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Urban.
Yeah, I served on Board of Adjustments, not the same thing as planning and zoning, working with same people, seeing a lot of the same properties, and very, very interested in it. Would have the time and the margin and the interest in doing it.
Okay, and Mr. Kirschner.
I was on planning and zoning for 17 years prior to Todd coming. It's very interesting, but I think there's a lot of other people that are do a really good job and stuff like that. So I would like to withdraw.
Okay, thank you. So go ahead, Megan. I think I have them down, but
Are voting for four, and the ones you're voting for are out of Peterson, Gray, Lockhart, King, Wago, and Urban.
Peterson, Bossart, Wago, King. Peterson, Wago, Bossart, Kuhn. Peterson, Bossart, King, Urban. King, Bossart, Peterson. Urban, Wago, Bossart, Peterson. Wago, Bossart, King, Urban. Wago, Bossart, Gray, Urban. Bossart, King, Peterson, Wago. Bossart, King, Wago, Urban. Peterson, Gray, King, Wago.
Okay, so our top four, we had 9 for Bosshard, 8 for King, 8 for Wago, 7 for Peter. We also had 6 for Urban.
okay, sounds good. So we'll have Barsard, King, Wadel, is that correct? And Peterson. That'll be your planning and zoning committee. All right, very good. Thank you for that. We have no unfinished business, so we'll move on with our agenda with the new business reports and presentations. So the county administrator's monthly report with our corp counsel, the interim administrator Ruth Zelsky.
So in your packet, a copy of filing that was filed with the state because the counties get a larger percentage of the money. The state, as part of that agreement, we do have to file once a year with Department of Justice on what our is going towards. So the page filing and page 2 was just a question all counties to do. They're having another summit in a couple of weeks to try to see how counties are spending their money. Just have some additional information. Pat Eisenberger from our like that summit for us. So that has been taken care of for the year. Next week, the moving coming and boxes and all of the materials so we can start packing up. Rest assured, I am taking also keep your balance. I am. So we are working on that. Don't come to my office right now. It's more disaster than it was the last. Let's see. The tomorrow is the citizens community meeting at Riverview School about their referendum. It's at 6 o'clock at Riverview. The annexation for the highway shop and EMS building is on the Town of Dakota's agenda tonight and will be addressed by the city at their May meeting. The aging and resource disability change your name and number of the correct name. Anyways, aging is having an open house for 50 years of the aging department.
Oh.
Tomorrow.
Hey,
There'll be events.
do you want to just use the mic? I guess you can't hear over.
Oh, no one's ever told me I wasn't loud enough.
Yeah.
So anyways, the aging will be having an open house tomorrow for 50 years of being a department. It'll be in the demo room and it's from 10 to 3 and they're going to have photo ops and all kinds of things. And then I did receive a email invite to Von Briesen Law Firm, who we've used before. Andy Phillips used to be part of that before he started his own firm and is working almost exclusively for WCA. But attorneys like Jim Macy and others that have worked with the county are there. They are going to be putting on a webinar called Being a Good Board Member. It's on April 29th from 12 to 1. It's a Zoom meeting. So if anybody's interested in registering for that, let me know and I can get you the link to be able to register for that.
Okay, very good. Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Elski? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we'll have our tablet training with IT Director Barry West.
Most of you are returning, so I didn't put a big presentation together on how to use the tablets. Most of you guys know how to do that. I had to correct some settings on it this morning. Basically, what we did with the change of the board, we changed email addresses. So instead of having the email addresses be WCB number, whatever, we switched it to the names. So each person will have their own email address specifically to them. That'll go for the 2-year period. And then once we re-elect, if whoever stays, we'll keep the same address. And then if we change people, then we'll change the email addresses. This coincides with our switch over to the .gov email address that we're doing across the board as well. And that's pretty much the only really changes that we made. Is there any, I guess, does anybody have any questions regarding the tablets? Is there questions that you have right away?
When do I get my tablet?
It is ready now. Jacob was working in another room when you came by and I was over at the government center. I apologize. So we can, when we take the break here for committees in a little while, we can go take care of it then, if you want to. Any other questions at all? Yeah, so the roll call is basically, it's the app that we have open, that we opened on everybody's tablet right now. So when she posts it, it'll pop up and give you the opportunity to, she will do the motions still through you, correct? Yeah, motions will be verbal. And then once we take a vote, it'll be, everything will be voted on your tablet. So when it pops up, it'll have yes or no option on there. You'll pick your vote. That'll all be electronic. It is a good idea to make sure you bring your tablet to all the meetings just to make sure that the votes are counted correctly. And it basically makes it so everyone is more apt to vote correctly and not have to worry about influences and whatnot.
Will that change at all in the new facility?
As far as,
I mean, will we be using this the
correct,
same way?
yep, it'll still be the same, yes. We did have, there was some chargers that were misplaced. So if you didn't get a charger or you need a charger with your tablet, just take one of the ones that is plugged in here home with you so you have it, and then we'll make sure we have the correct number of chargers.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Barry?
As always, too, we have remote access to be able to get into the tablet. So if you have a problem, you can give us a call. One of us, Jacob or myself, will be able to remote in and help you wherever you are. As long as you have internet, we can get to you and help. And then always feel free to come by the office and we can work through any problems that you have too.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Barry. All right, we've had the presentation. We'll move into B, the discussion, possible motion action items. The first one is the predictive index software. Yes, go.
Before you vote on that,
Mhm.
Deb, who does our current hiring,
Mhm.
about what we do and some of her thoughts on how this could help or that kind of thing.
Okay, very good. Deb, thank you.
Hi, thank you very much. First of all, I'm again the HR and risk manager for the county, and I've been doing HR for about 30 years. I've worked with a number of assessments for really about 20, I think I have 26 years of experience working with different hiring assessments. So I first just want to say thank you very much for even considering and taking the time to think about how we can improve our hiring practices. I think assessments can be very, very helpful, and they're a part of the HR strategy in general. There's a number of different kinds of assessments, and the ones that I have used most, I guess the most, have been, I have used Predictive Index briefly. I've used Wonderlic, that was specific for executives, managers, security, law enforcement. I've used Profiles International, DISC, Myers-Briggs. Some of them have been specific to the kind of assessment that Predictive Index is, and some are different than that. I think going into considering an assessment process, what my recommendation would be is, first of all, determine what your actual, what the goal is, what the objective is. If we're looking for attracting and retaining staff, I think right now our recruiting strategy is mostly we're using free resources. We occasionally pay for ads in the Argus. But one of the things that Lee had suggested was using ZipRecruiter. And I think it's important to realize that we can certainly use additional resources to recruit, but that all comes as additional money as well. So we aren't spending right now, again, that advertising expense goes to the department, and the department determines, yep, go ahead and use the Argus or use get a paid ad for LinkedIn or for Indeed. But that's a department cost. And so I think it's important if that is part of the strategy that is determined, hey, we're going to go with Predictive Index, and one of the recommendations is, yep, you guys need to apply or recruit here, here, and here. There's going to be an additional cost to that. Not saying it's right or wrong. I do think that we need to update our strategy. I also think that, retention, we need to continue to look at our retention and making sure that the right people are in the right jobs. And I've provided some turnover data in previous meetings that I think we can deep dive into to determine if assessments is the first thing or the next right solution. So I think understanding, is that the right solution? Is it the right time? What's our objective? And then I'm obviously, I have some concerns about the amount of support that it will take myself and Kelsey to really focus on putting this in. For instance, we have an ATS system that we're using currently on our website, but Tyler, which we've already paid for, also has an ATS. ATS is applicant tracking system. We haven't implemented that yet. We've implemented payroll and benefits, and we're working on queuing up human capital management, which would include the recruiting piece, but we haven't done that yet, and that is scheduled once we get through the move, we'll be talking about what timeframe that looks like. I think something else that's helpful for us to just remember is that we need to understand the setup, the training, the implementation. I know that Lee indicated it could be about as quickly as like 6 weeks to get it implemented, but that's on a system that we don't have the ATS implemented yet. So we, again, would need to implement the Tyler ATS system first to get all of that done. So I just think that's important to know, and I just wanted you to have that bigger global review of it. I think, some of the reporting is really interesting. And I would say that if you want to continue to review, that perhaps you can maybe even take the assessment and see where you are in it. I took it in 2022, and I took it again last week. And I did come up with 2 different profiles, or it gave me 2 different reports, 2 different areas. And I just think, again, it would be helpful to just make sure that you are understanding what it would include. And then the last question the last thing I really wanted to talk about was who does own the data. The report that I got that indicated the productive index, it does say that it's up to the company that administered the assessment to share your results with you. So if Waushara County is administering, then we would have the data. But if Lee is reviewing that, then he would need to turn that around to us. And I have talked with Lee before, but I haven't gotten into the depth, the deep part of that yet. I just think it's important to just be aware of. So again, my thoughts are just, is this the right time? Is it the right solution? And really, what is your objective? And again, just want to thank you for considering ways that we can positively impact the county with hiring the right people and retaining our valuable staff.
Does anybody have any questions for Deb before we go into our discussion?
How long before the Tyler ATS is live and active?
Great question. I would hope that we're going to continue to work on that this year. That would be my goal, because yeah, I mean, that's what the beauty of having it right now. Again, we have it on our website, but it goes into a different system. When we have the ATS through Tyler, what would happen is when an employee or when a candidate applies, all of that data gets pulled into Tyler rather than having to re-enter new hire forms and all of those things. So I don't have a specific date, but it's something that Barry and I will continue to work on. My goal would be before the end of the year is when we would start to implement that.
Okay. Any other questions?
Just a quick question, and it may be an impossible one to answer, but just approximately, how many hires do we do as a county?
I would say probably about maybe around 70 a year, and that may be a little high. And some of our highest positions with highest turnover and the highest kind of open positions, we see a lot, obviously highway, but I want to talk about some of those reasons. It is difficult work, and there's a lot of folks who come on board and tell us the things that we do want to hear. And they have had experience working in a manual kinds of position before, but it is much different. And so it's a difficult position to keep filled, not just here in Waushara County, but I think statewide and probably just in general. And I know that we've also had some positions opened with the sheriff's office. And again, the hiring that we do for corrections has, we have a lot of competition that pays much greater than we do. So not using those as an excuses, but I'm like from a point of view of like, where are we at and how are we attracting and retaining? I think that we could do some additional things, like, especially for Department of Human Services, look at really a paid ad program, and to maybe really reach out a little bit further than just using the free ads and And I think each of the positions kind of could have a different strategy.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions then for Deb?
I hate to put you on the spot, but
You can put me on the
I
spot.
kind of get the sense that you are thinking that you would like us to delay a decision on this for a few months at least, so that you can.
Yeah, I will tell you
Investigate
if
it
it was on my desk to decide, and that's part of, I did speak with Lee last, I believe last year, or maybe it was even, I believe it was last year. That was part of my, part of my delay, I guess, is what I would say. I think it's a valuable tool. I don't know that it's the right tool for us right now. I think that we have a few steps to go, and again, I'm familiar with Productive Index. Before I started working for Waushara County, I had my own business and I was an executive coach. And a lot of my colleagues, other career coaches and executive coaches, were licensed like Lee is to implement the tool. And so I'm familiar with it. I've taken it. I've been part of their trainings. And again, I think it's a valuable tool. I just don't, if it was on my desk, I don't believe that this is the right time. And it's a significant investment.
Okay, very good. Any other questions? All right.
I've got one question. Like with a tool, so I'm not saying like, well, I'll just ask the question. With a tool like this in place for a position that we're hiring, like the administrative position, would that give us a better ability to conduct a hire like that in-house and avoid costs of
Great question. I think that there are some other tools, especially other tools that I have used that we can buy on an a la carte basis, that we don't need to implement the whole solution, but we can do some predictive assessments or instruments where we can, again, that they're fully vetted, but they're more of like, $150 for an assessment at a time. So if we, let's say the exec committee or the hiring committee determines that there are 5 candidates that they would like to move forward, what my recommendation is that we would have each of those 5 candidates complete an assessment tool. Most likely, well, I guess we would determine which one, and then from that information, we would, again, we would get a hiring report we would get interview questions. The one that I have used the longest for like 9 years, I used a company called Profiles International, and we had great results for sure from it, but it was standalone, or you just grab as many assessments as you need per assessment basis rather than a software basis.
Okay. Any other questions for Deb? Okay, then let's move into our discussion of and if somebody would like to make a motion to accept the Predictive Index software.
I have a question that may be a procedural question that I would address, maybe. As the discussion has gone on regarding this, and per the email that you had sent out, Ruth, this is an unbudgeted expense, at least for this time. Do we have the option of tabling this until, say, next year, or should we reject this and then pick it up again later?
We'd probably have to have a motion before we could table it, wouldn't we? Or no?
I guess that's what I'm asking.
Kind of motion you're going to
Yeah,
make.
just,
Okay.
yeah.
So I think that you have lots of options. You could just say, no, we're not interested, and then we would not pursue it further. You can say, hey, we think that this type of tool is a good idea. Can you get more information, figure out how it implements into Tyler, and bring it back to us at a later date with some additional information, how it fits into our system. You can say that you want to, so then you would table it to like a specific date out there. You could just say, we're not going to take any action today, but Ruth and Deb, I want you, this is the information I want you to get us, and bring it back when you have that information. So you have lots of different options on how you want to do it.
Does anybody
procedurally.
want to bring up any of those? And some would be just a consensus too. So does anybody have any feelings as far as that goes?
I'm not sure anybody sitting up here knows specifically what Deb goes through as far as hiring. It sounds to like today, she's got a lot of tools in her toolbox. I certainly would hate for us to try to shove something into that department that's requiring her to use when she, in fact, has stuff that's working today. I would suggest that her and Ruth review this, and if they want to have that in their department, I think they should put it in as a CIP request.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, and then bring it before strategic planning, whatever. All right. What is the other feelings? Is that kind of a consensus, or is there somebody objecting to that?
I agree with Bart.
Okay. Okay, very good. I think that's our consensus. Then we'll go back and if it's a tool at some point you think you need, bring it back to the either strategic planning or to exec, and then we'll move it on from there. All right. Very good. Thank you. County administrator hiring process or
Okay.
procedure.
So now the next step. So I know that at the last meeting, there was some talk about whether or not we wanted to hire a headhunter or how we wanted to go about this. The first time that we went and looked for a county administrator, we did postings on like Indeed and LinkedIn. And if you'll recall, we had several people apply who were not local. And so there was, a wide range of people that were applying then. When we did it the second time around, we went with PAA, and they gave us a group of people. And the first go around, we kind of had some people that we kind of liked and kind of didn't like. We made them go back and get some more. And then they came back. I would note that I'm a little disappointed in them in the fact that they also were the ones who were working for Port Washington and hired away our last administrator, which, I mean, I'm not saying that they reached out to her because I don't know all of the details, but they brought her to us in the first place. So I would like permission from the county board to put this out like on Indeed and LinkedIn and see what we get before we spend more money on a headhunter. And then once we get those applications, then we can figure out, do we do an assessment? Do we do, I think that the department heads really liked last time that there was that involvement where the candidates that were narrowed down came and met with the department heads and got some information about the departments, and they were able to ask some questions. I don't know if there was, I have mixed opinions about the value of the community process because we didn't have a lot of community participants come, but we did have some. And I was able to talk to some of them afterwards. And, their information that they were looking at was certainly different than the information I was looking at. And I thought that that was helpful. So I think that there's lots of things that we could do without hiring a headhunter and getting that expense. And I would like to start that process first. And if I completely fail and I don't get you any applications that you're even interested in looking at, then you can tell me I was wrong. It won't be the first time that day, I can guarantee it. But, and then we could have the expense of hiring a headhunter. I agree that we want to make sure that we do the right hire, not just hire somebody because we think that we need to hire. I'm not saying that we don't need an administrator, and I'm not saying that there's not a need for that, but we're in a pretty good position right now that all of our department head positions are filled. We're really kind of like, we're doing what needs to get done, but the next couple of weeks, we're really going to be packing and moving and not really like making huge decisions where the county administrator would be like called into it. These are like kind of like little day-to-day things. So I don't want you to rush into this, and I don't want you to spend money that you don't need to spend just because you think that we are sinking and we need to do it fast. So my recommendation is that we start internally with like Indeed and LinkedIn and things like that. And then if that doesn't work, then we look at going towards the headhunter route.
Okay. I guess I would look for a motion then if you feel that way to continue like with an in-house type kind of posting with headed by Ruth and Deb at this point.
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Mr. King, second by Mr. Peterson, or Mr. Bossard, I guess. And so we'll proceed to vote on that.
And one comment, I just hope
Oh, yes,
that,
we can speak.
I just hope that the executive committee will want to include the other board, get down to that point.
Oh,
so that-
I agree. I think
Yeah.
that you all have to have a say in it because you're the ones who are going to have to ultimately oversee that person and should have input into who that person is going to be.
I agree with you, Pat. The last time when we had a chance to interview all the candidates, I think that really was a good way to move into that too. So any other comments?
Yeah, Ruth, did you take the predictive index assessment?
I did. I
So we've got that somewhere? So,
Would you like to see?
so
the
if we just go for a Ruth clone, so craft up
There we
that.
I tried, Jesse.
Maybe you need to read it and make sure that it's. Maybe I'm just fooling you all very well. Jesse did ask, or Lee did ask me what I had thought about it, and I am horrible at self-assessment. Like I think all kinds of things about myself that other people, when I say that that's the kind of person I am, they're like, no, you're not. So like, so I read the assessment and there were parts of it that I agreed described me. And then there were other parts that are like, oh, I'm not really like that. But then as somebody else might. So I'll let you read it and you tell me if you think it really describes me. So.
All right, very good. Is there any other discussion on the motion then? Does anybody need any clarification on the motion? Okay, we'll go ahead and proceed to vote on that then.
Yes.
Okay, and the motion passes. Very good. Budget adoption policy.
So Sarah will correct me when I'm wrong, but we had a budget adoption policy that worked with the way that we were adopting the budget before in categories, right? And Tyler will not let us do it in categories. So we need to change our adoption policy back to the way we did it before, which was like line items instead of categories, so that it meets with our software requirements. So it's not a new policy. It's kind of reverting back to the way that we did it before. So it's just updating it to meet our software needs.
Okay. Is there a motion to update the adoption or the budget adoption policy? Okay, by Mr. Peters, is there a second?
I'll
Second by
it.
Mr. Weedle. Is there any discussion on this? All right, let's go ahead and vote on that then.
Yes.
Okay, and the motion passes. Very good. Utilizing local assistance and tribal consistency funds to conduct a countywide wage study.
So there was a lot of discussion about this at the executive committee, and a few years ago, we did an internal wage study that was headed by a bunch of department heads. And, you know, we gathered lots of information from our neighboring counties and from some of the other areas and tried to pull together something to make our wage scale more current because we have not had a formal wage study in like a decade. And so it was met with a lot of resistance and a lot of questions on the methods. And we're continuing to have a number of departments ask for reclassifications of their positions, indicating that they don't think that they're competitive, that's why they're not getting people to apply. And frankly, looking back at the internal one that we did, I think that we did well for what we could do, but none of us are actually experts in that area and don't have the tools to go out and really dig deep into the different positions that the county has and comparing it with other counties and private industries that are relevant. That being said, it's also a kind of a when do you do this, right? And so our hope is that we would be able to get a wage study done and that we would be able to implement it in the 2025 budget. But if it comes back that I don't think that we're real far off, but again, you know, I'm one person and I've been here a long time. So like things have changed a lot in the last 26 years that I've been here. And so I don't think that we're that far off, but I also haven't lived in the real world for 26 years, right? So if it's super far off, you know, it may be something that has to be done step by step. And the executive committee was really concerned about tying the hands of a new county administrator because we don't have a county administrator. And I guess my thought is on that is that I'm not tying anybody's hands. I'm asking for us to gather actual data that is relevant to the current job market, that is done by people who are trained to do this, so that we have good data instead of, I think it would be more tying hands to a county administrator if the reclasses that have been presented by the departments to Sarah, Deb, and I just willy-nilly said, you get reclassed, but you don't, oh, you do. And what is my basis for that? You know, the most persuasive argument. So I'm asking that we do a wage study. I'm also asking that we have these LATC funds that were given to us by the U.S. Department of Treasury. And we have $100,000 in that account that was part of the American Rescue Plan. That can be used for things like recruiting, retention, personnel type costs are all eligible costs for that. And so this would not go on a tax levy. It would not come out of our general fund. This is additional money that we have. And I would like to use this money. I also would like to propose that we go with Risk Strategies, who was in your packet. The last time we did a wage study, we had Carlson Detman. Carlson Detman is still in the game. And they also had provided a proposal to us. Part of my reasoning for proposing Risk Strategies is they're currently in Adams County right now, and they are gathering all the data. They have already talked to Deb and gotten a lot of our information as part of their study for Adams County. And so they believe that they will be able to give us a quicker turnaround on it. And I think that because they've already gathered some of the information for us through Adams County, it won't put as much pressure on employees and department heads to provide them with additional information. There'll still be pieces we need to give them, but they already have started gathering some of that. That's why I'm asking to go with them. You know, it's them, Carlson Detman, and McGrath are really the three that are doing wage studies in the area. We don't have a current proposal from McGrath. The last time I had talked to them, they were kind of behind and were not taking on new clients, but we certainly can reach out to them again as well. But so it's kind of a twofold question. I'm asking to move forward with the wage study, and I'm asking to use these LATCF money to do it.
Okay, so is there anyone that would like to make a motion to conduct a countywide wage study using the LATCF funds in hiring risk strategies to do that? Okay, motion by Mr. Kirschner. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Bossard. Do we have any discussion? I will say I was at the a gathering of county board chairs in our area yesterday, and there is a lot of counties going through this right now. Same thing. They're just feel they're off. I agree with Ruth. I think in some cases we won't be that far off. I hope anyway. So, okay, is any other comments? Okay, then go ahead and vote.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes. Very good. Meeting room usage agreement.
So there are 2 in your packet. And the reason for this is because I don't necessarily think on my way home from work, but I tend to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning thinking about this place. And one day at 3 o'clock in the morning, after we had done the meeting use agreement, I got to thinking about it and had some concerns about keeping the policies are basically the same, except one does not include the Watoma EMS station. And the reason that I put that as an option for you is that when we built the Watoma EMS station, we were not building it as a public building per se for the hosting of having meetings. We were building it as an EMS station with living quarters. And in addition to that, in our last contract negotiation with EMS, we changed our schedule. And so now, as part of our schedule, our employees are working 48 hours straight. So I will tell you that I believe when they were working the old schedule where they're only working 24 hours on, 24 hours off, 24 hours on, that they weren't really sleeping when they were working on my 24 hours. Not working exertedly for 24 hours, but I don't believe that they were actually sleeping. I told Keith they better be sleeping when they're working 48 hours straight because they are driving very expensive equipment. They're dealing with people's lives, right? Like people can't stay up 48 hours. So my concern about having this as an option for the general public is that we're going to have people sleeping there. And it's not really set up to close off the living quarters. It's all part of that building. So there is like a training room in there. That training room would still be able to be used for EMS trainings. It would still be able to be used for emergency management trainings like NIMS meetings. A bunch of us went to a tabletop there. It's not very big. We did not have enough people with enough room to do that tabletop that had all the community members. So I don't think that it would get a lot of use anyway. But those things, or if, another county department needed a small room, could certainly work that out with Keith and like the staff to make sure that it was like during a time when we would not be disrupting sleep and putting our employees at risk for not getting enough sleep and that kind of stuff. So that's why I have 2 options. So I'm recommending the option that does not include EMS Watoma, and that's why.
Just one question. Maybe Al can answer. So would this affect like the Aries group meeting there, the amateur radio? So then they wouldn't be able to meet at EMS anymore?
Well, they might be able to, depending on the time, if we could work it out with Keith. So it would not be off the table. We would still just have to work it out with Alan and Keith to make sure that it would be appropriate. But we also have 27 conference rooms in the new building or something like
Or the
that.
highway building.
Or the highway building is completely set up for public use because everything, other part of the highway shop can be shut off. And that's a very nice building, a nice training room. And it would just have that room and then the thing. So we would make every effort to be able to still work with our community partners and find them an appropriate spot and a big enough spot for their needs.
Okay. So is there motion? Would somebody like to make a motion either with the option with the Watoma EMS or without?
Make a motion without the EMS.
Okay, motion by Mr. King. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Urban. All right, is there a discussion? Okay, very good. Well, the motion is to accept the meeting room usage agreement without the Watoma EMS included. Go ahead and vote on that.
Yes.
Okay, and the motion passes. Utilizing ARPA funding for new land records software. Stephanie, did you want to talk about this? Give Ruth a break. She's updating her profile anyways.
All right. Hi, I'm Stephanie Sattler. I'm the GIS coordinator and also the land information officer for Waushara County. I'm coming forward to you today to ask to use $211,375 out of the ARPA funding because we are in need of a new land record software. So our existing one is no longer going to be supported by our current vendor starting in 2026. And I don't want to wait until next year to decide who we're moving to within that year. And for budgeting, I want to make sure we're all set up with our annual maintenance. So we set out a bid back in February. We had 2 vendors come back. And on the second page in the agenda that was set out was the financial comparison between the two. The 2 companies, which were Transcendent Technologies and Catalyst. Transcendent Technologies is more expensive, but I am a firm believer that price usually is equal to your quality of product. So, and Catalyst is our current vendor, so we're not buying the actual software because they're just going to upgrade us to the new software. So with going with Transcendent Technologies, we're buying the product, the implementation costs, and then also the annual maintenance. That's why the total investment for that company is much more. And that is why I'm coming to you to ask to use the ARPA to offset that implementation cost and the software itself. This would then allow us not to put any of that implementation and one-time costs onto the levy, which is my biggest concern. When I first brought this to executive committee in February, there was a concern of the municipality cost. And so when I first came, I came with wrong numbers. And so after working with Megan and the municipalities, I came up with the accurate numbers, and knowing what they currently pay for annual maintenance, it's not as big of a jump as originally thought. So for some municipalities, they're only going up $50, some are $150, but it'll depend on how many tax bills they have. So Marion will have more of a cost versus Town of Oasis. So there is also the option of pet licensing coming to the county instead of going down to the municipality. So like Village of Laurelville, I think they said they gave out 6 licensing this past year. And so that $250 cost for them isn't worth it. So we are in talks with municipalities to try and offset that cost for them. And also in the packet, I gave some feedback from the municipalities. It's all been very positive. And they're in great support of our office in making this change. And as long as we're open and communicative with them, which it will be, I think this will be a good transition to make next year.
Okay, very good. Does anyone want to make a motion to accept the buying of the new land record software through ARPA funds and using Transcendent Technologies, I guess?
I would make that motion.
Okay, motion by Bosser, second by Piaski. Is there any discussion?
Do we have enough money in the ARPA funds to?
We do, and I did confirm with Sarah that we would have enough because there's 255,000 unallocated right now.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, let's go ahead and vote. I know this is a really long meeting. We're going to get through these next things, then we're going to take a break so we can get the committees taken care of. And at that point, we'll have you get your pictures taken too for the directory.
Yes.
Okay, very good. The motion passes. All right, and we'll move into consideration possible action on the following resolutions and ordinance. Resolution number 12-04-24, designation of depositories. Do you want to just bring this up?
Every 2 years, when there's a new county board, we have to have a list of the depositories approved again because you're a new board.
I think there's just one added to the list too, wasn't there, from before? Yeah.
We mostly work with local banks.
Right. Okay, is there anyone to make that motion?
Motion to
Okay,
approve.
motion by Mr. Wadle. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Peterson. Any discussion? All right, go ahead and vote.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes, or the resolution passes. Resolution number 13-04-24, resolution authorizing fund balance restrictions, commitments, assigns, and reappropriation of specified funds from 2023 to 2024. That's quite self-explanatory, just moving them ahead. Is there a motion? Motion by Mr. Piaski. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Urban. Any discussion? Okay, go ahead and vote.
Yes.
Okay, and the resolution passes. Ordinance number 686, ordinance amending Waushara County zoning maps pursuant to the authority granted in Chapter 58 Waushara County Code Zone Change. Donald Netzler of Town of Marion. Is there a motion? Motion by Mr. Weedle, second by Mr. King. Is there any discussion? Okay, go ahead and vote.
Yes.
Okay, and that ordinance passes. Proclamations. The first is recognizing April 2024 as National County Government Month. Is there a motion? Motion by Ms. McCormick. Second. Second by Mr. Urban. Any discussion? All right, go ahead and vote.
Yes.
Okay, and that proclamation passes. Number two, declaring April 14th through the 20th, 2024 as National Public Safety Telecommunications Week. Is there a motion? Motion by Mr. Piaski is second by Mr. Peterson. Any discussion? Okay, go ahead and vote.
Yes.
Okay, and that motion passes. Designating April 8th through the 12th, 2024 as Tornado and Severe Weather Awareness Week. Is there a motion to accept? Motion by Mr. Bossard. Second? Second by Ms. McCormick. Any discussion? All right,
Maybe we
go ahead and
should,
vote.
maybe we should have these before they pass.
What's that?
Maybe we should have these proclamations before they actually happen.
Yeah, I guess that would have been a good idea, probably. But we're going to make sure we got it covered. All right, go ahead and vote.
Yes.
Okay, and the proclamation passes. This one will be more timely. Proclaiming May 10th, 2024 as Provider Appreciation Day. Is there a motion to accept? Motion by Ms. McCormick. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Bossard. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Go ahead and vote.
Yes.
Okay, very good. And that proclamation passes as well. Proclaiming May 2024 as Older Americans Month. Is there a motion? Motion by Mr. Weedle, second by Mr. Johnson. Is there any discussion?
You get a whole month?
Yeah. You know.
Only one I get.
That's just not fair. Okay, is there any discussion? Okay, go ahead and vote on that.
Yes.
Change the wording a little bit though.
Okay, and that motion passes as well. Okay. What's that? Okay, so at this time, we'll take a break. You can use the facilities if you need, and if you'd go down to the IT room, is that where they're gonna do it? Jacob would like to take pictures of everybody, individual pictures for our website and things. And I'll go away with a few people here, and we'll get these chair selection or these selections or committees figured out. It shouldn't take too long, and then we'll reconvene when I'm done with that, so we can. I don't think so. Yes. Oh, okay.
Don't right now.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah. Oh, I'm getting ready to come down.
Come down.
You threaten.
The rest of them are a lot better.
Yeah.
Sure.
It doesn't matter.
Oh, nice to meet you, Allison McCormick.
I get you.
I enjoyed going to.
Congratulations.
No, and I appreciate what I appreciate the fact. You'll enjoy that and continue on as alternate. So we have to do re-elections and stuff like that, and we'll just reappoint you and then. I was just kidding. I know. That's a.
You on the decisions on the other parties? Or is that all up to John? That's up to John. Oh.
So they can't let go of the garage. And the village doesn't own the fire department anymore. Now it's a district, which each town owns it. But just all more reason that could get this straightened out.
Everybody back
Get
to
up
Z.
to date.
Yeah, yeah, no, thank you. Yeah.
We'll give a minute to soak in.
Yes, when do they take effect? April 1st or the election or today?
The date of
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Bill.
Okay,
From this time.
yeah,
No rush.
all right. We all back? Okay, we'll give you a minute to look that over. We'll reconvene. And give you a minute to look that all over. Does anybody have any questions on any of those? And whenever you're finished, I would look for a motion to accept the committee appointments. Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Kirschner. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Peterson. Any discussion on any of them? Anybody have any questions about them? Nothing? Okay. Very good. Then we can go ahead and vote on that.
Yes, it doesn't work, so I'll say yes.
Gotta turn it on, Pat.
Oh.
Okay, so the motion passes. Very good. Thank you, guys. You'll be noticed when their meetings are coming up for your committee meetings. Some may kind of start a little bit staggered, just to give us time to get settled here first. So is there any other board suggestions for future agenda items? And I just want to remind everybody, oh, go ahead, Pat. You have something?
John and I talked a few days ago, and one suggestion I made was that at public comments, either before or after they give their public comments, that you explain the board's position on why we don't respond to their public comments. And I guess, from what I understand, you can respond. I talked to Ruth also. You can respond somewhat, but you can't be in a back and forth position. But I think that we should. My suggestion would be that you and the chair work out some way of either frameworking it, give them a piece of paper when they fill out public comments of what to expect from the board, from them, or whatever. That's
most people don't realize that between Megan and Ruth, myself, we try and get to those people soon afterwards or find an answer for them. But, if you don't know that, then you think you're just ignoring them. And I agree with you, Pat, that's kind
in
of
the
cool.
general
We don't want to
public,
be,
when the audience is out there.
right,
They
Yeah.
don't get that. Even if they didn't talk,
right.
they still were listening. And it makes us look like we're stone cold, and we don't listen to them.
Yeah.
And we should, and we do. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm concerned about what the public thinks, but
Mhm.
I want them to think to make sure that they understand that we do care.
Yep.
Right. So when we were at Public Works, there was a copy of a presentation done by DOJ on open meetings, and it said things that they're allowed to do, and it's discussed. But what it doesn't say is what that discussion means. So like you are able to discuss like amongst yourselves. Like if I was a public citizen and I brought up a concern, you as county board supervisors would be able to discuss that to the point of not taking any action on it, but saying, oh, so this citizen was complaining about water quality in, oh, for example, remember there was that couple who came that their property was always flooding? So you would be able to discuss and say, okay, I think that this is something, let's refer this to the zoning department to go out there and do an investigation and find out what needs to be done and have contact with the DNR and the Army Corps. And if it needs to come back to the board or a committee, then the zoning director should put it on a committee agenda. So you could have that kind of discussion, but you couldn't like have a discussion with me where I'd say, well, are you going out there, Pat? You can't say, yes, Ruth, I'm going out to your property. And you can't like morph that discussion into like more than just like what their initial topic is. And what I had explained at the meeting to Mr. Wood when him and I were discussing it, I said, yes, the committee can discuss what you're bringing up to the point of saying, this is the concern, this is where it should go, have that type of discussion. To refer it to someplace else, have a brief discussion about what more you want to see on it. But that they can't have back and forth discussion with it because it could morph into something else. And none of the things on public comments are on an agenda. So somebody else from the community could be like, oh, if I knew that the county board was going to talk about that, I would have came because it's really important to me. And so you have to be very careful and not violating somebody else's rights by addressing somebody who's theirs rights. So really the discussion should not be between you and the person giving the talk. It should be between yourselves to give direction on where you want it to go from there.
Plus, on something like that, if you voted on it without any kind of background information, that would be kind of unfair to the supervisors too, because a lot of times you need that education before you give your.
Voting would be
Yeah.
a violation of the of the open meetings law. So you could, and when you violate the open meetings law, that's a fine to you individually, not to the county. So like you would be prosecuted, could be prosecuted individually by the district attorney's office. But I think that, that's something, you're right. I'll work on this registration slip to make it a little bit more clear. And then I think that, maybe we always talk about doing county board education. Maybe we have somebody come and talk about open meetings and like the rules and have that like on an agenda.
Someone from UW or
something like
yeah.
that.
You've done that before.
We have.
Yeah.
Oh, probably.
Yeah, we pick it.
So.
Gotta pick an angry person to role play.
Who are you suggesting, Jesse? Jesse, who are you suggesting?
Yeah.
Is clarification, does that count?
Ask, if you didn't understand what I
Right.
I'm not sure I'm getting that. Could you explain that a bit more? Yes.
What is it you're looking for or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a very good point. So,
Yeah. Today, like somebody asked, where do I get the supervisory grants?
Yes.
It would be okay for you to say, because it's a simple yes or no, it's simple question.
Our website.
Site or see the county clerk. Like, so simple questions you could answer, you just can't engage in a back.
You
and
want
forth.
dialogue?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So, can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, Ruth and I also talked about something else. And so Ruth, is it appropriate for me to bring it up here or not?
The study.
Would.
Oh, I think that I will be putting something on the next Public Works agenda in closed session so that at least that board can know more about what's been going on. There's more information that's been happening behind the scenes that you're not aware of.
Right.
And then if that committee wants that to come to county board, then.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, good. With that, is there any other future agenda items? We'll look at the UW study or the education a little bit. Our next meeting will be at the Waushara County Government Center on May 21st 21st. And then also remember today at 12:30 to 3 is the open house at the new highway building, ribbon cutting at 2. So with that, I would look for a motion to adjourn. Somebody wants, Mr. Peterson, is there a second? There's a second. Second by Mr. Waddle. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.
That chair always
Yeah.
says adjourn.
That's your job, Mr. Johnson.
Say if you want, me to forward you the, Zoom meeting on being a board member?
I sent you an email.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
please.
Could you also forward it to me, please? Thank you.
That was the 29th, you said?
I want to be a good board member.
But what'd you say?
Yeah,
Part.
there's no hope for some of us.
What time is the meeting next time? Board meeting?
And Allison,
Man, what?
Wisconsin County.
Probably the same time.
Wisconsin counties, they're gonna do
Oh,
their
yeah.
new.
I
think it said that
Yeah.
someplace. Yeah, read that somewhere.
In there?
Next meeting.
On this? On this
Yeah.
spreadsheet?
And ours was next.
I wish I could. I'm gonna throw it.
Yes, it was very.
Oh, it's 6 PM, okay.
Yeah,
And I want,
especially with open meeting stuff.
wanted to go to it, but I'm actually in.
Really?
Minneapolis.
I didn't even.
I'm at the conference about that.
I think Johnson.
So,
Think.
yes, and that is what I will be doing. Yeah, I know, I was like, oh so
So you
Got on. We know why he did that.
I got knocked off a one.
Yeah.
Did he put you on something?
That man's,
But let's.
But I mean, like,